Hi everybody, it's Melissa O'Connell, your Lexus Technology Specialist, and welcome to the Lexus Virtual Classroom. Today we're doing another in our deep dive series all about the buttons, bells, and whistles on the 2021 Lexus RX. Keep in mind that there are no major differences between the 2020 and the 2021 models. It's going to be minor changes, including things that used to be optional on the vehicle that are now standard equipment. So if you're still shopping for a Lexus RX, take a close look at the packages, especially on the 2021, because things like blind spot monitor and auto folding, programmable tilt and reverse side mirrors, standard equipment. They've also changed the operation of the automatic high beams. So I want to make sure to show you that, and we'll check that out when we get inside the vehicle. If you're familiar with the Lexus Virtual Classroom and how we do our deep dive tutorials, you'll know that we have supplemented our in-person training when you get a vehicle here at one of our dealerships with a virtual training platform. And that's where you are today. We want you to be able to review all of the features and equipment at your own pace, so you can go over it again and again as many times as you need to. But if you do have more questions as you work your way through the video, don't forget, we have an index in the description below. So you can jump item to item and just check out the things that you need without having to watch the entire video. Or watch the entire video, that's great too. So thanks so much for being here with us today. Come on, let's learn together. Parking sensors are located on the exterior of the RX, including being integrated into the lower corners of the grille. And across the rear bumper. You have 4 sensors at the front and 4 at the back. Your Smart Access key works just by being on your person. You'll notice a lock, unlock, push and hold for powering open the power back door, and then push and hold for a panic or an alarm button. If you're still using this panic button to locate your vehicle in a parking lot, go ahead and change over to the Lexus app. The Lexus app has had a lot of updates recently. In fact, the Lexus Inform remote feature is now inside of the Lexus app. The Lexus Inform App Suite 2.0 also now inside the Lexus app. So it's incredibly convenient to have all of your Lexus services right at your fingertips on your smartphone. Locking and unlocking with Smart Access, again, just make sure your key is on your person. It can be in your pocket or in a bag. To unlock, put your hand in the door handle. Driver's door handle unlocks the driver's door only, unless you customize that in the setup menu. Then you can have it unlock all of the doors if that's your preference. But for safety reasons, keep in mind, driver's door will unlock driver's door only, but you can unlock the Lexus from any of the other passenger doors just by putting your hand inside the door handle. To lock the Lexus, just touch the indentation on any of the door handles. The fuel door on the RX is push to open. If you push and it doesn't open, it just means that it's locked. As long as you have your Smart Access key on your person, put your hand inside the back door handle. It will unlock your Lexus as well as your fuel door. Now, if you are driving by yourself and you are going to fuel up, I recommend that you relock your Lexus. Just touch the indentation on the front of any door handle. Then when you're finished fueling, close the door and you're all set. You always want to make sure that you're using the correct fuel for your Lexus. So some vehicles will use premium, some will use regular. None of our Lexus vehicles use E85, so that's why you see that message here. It's just a different type of fuel with a different octane rating, and it's just not the right octane rating for this engine. It's not that there's anything wrong with one fuel over another, you just want to have the right fuel for your car. As we make our way around to the rear of the vehicle, I always like to point out that on the new RX, you can close the rear door or close and lock the rear door. So we have two separate buttons, and this does have a manual pull down, but because this is a power rear door, it's not a good idea to use that. You can actually kind of pull a little hard on the motors that operate the rear door. It's better to just go ahead and let it control it for you. You can also use the button on your smart key, so keep that in mind. One of those optional features that we talked about is the kick sensor. So the RX is available with a kick sensor now. Either way, you would still have the power back door feature as long as your vehicle is equipped with a power back door. If your RX is equipped with a kick sensor, make sure to have your smart key on your person. You're going to aim your kick between the two center parking sensors right in the middle of the back bumper. You don't have to go too far back. The sensor is actually located at the front portion of the center rear bumper, and it aims down. Just kick and step back. Wait for the beep and the door will open. You can even kick to pause and kick to close. If you're going to close and lock your power back door on the RX after you're finished with your vehicle, you've made sure all your other doors are closed and the vehicle is turned off, just give a push on the lock button and you'll hear a different tone. And you'll see that those mirrors have folded in as long as you have the auto feature turned on. If you'd like to adjust the height of your power back door, push the button to close, stop it in the position that you would like to save. Then push and hold that same button until you hear a series of beeps. So once you have those 4 beeps, then this new lower or higher position has been saved, depending on what your preference is. If you'd like to clear it, you're going to push and hold, get the 4 beeps, but then keep holding. Now, we had our 4 beeps, 2 additional beeps, it's all clear. So let's go ahead, open up our back door to that highest position, push to close, and you're back where you started. If you would like to use the buttons that are located underneath the handle for the back door, you have a large rubber touchpad that's to unlock and open, and then just to the right you have a small rubber touchpad that will actually lock the back door. So it won't close the back door like the buttons that are on the inside of the frame, but these exterior buttons will unlock and open or lock. The other things that we like to show in the back of the RX are the manual or an electric operation for the 3rd row. This version, you can fold down the rear seats with this lever. So if we give a pull, you'll see that seat start to fold down. Nice and easy. It's a really smooth action. If your RX has power operated 2nd row seats, you can perform that operation from the back right hand side buttons, L for left and R for right, or with the buttons on the seat side. You can push and release or push and hold. You'll hear 2 beeps, and the seat will fold either down or up, depending on where you've pressed. Down for down, up for up. You'll hear the 2 beeps again, and you're all clear. If you're mid-process and it gets stopped for any reason, you'll hear this lovely tone, letting you know that you need to complete a process, either up or down. If you're trying to fold the seat down and you get an alert with a repeated beep, not a constant beep, but a repeated beep like you're hearing now, you'll need to go ahead and completely restore the seat to its upright position and then check to see what is in the way. Typically, it's because the front seat is pushed too far back and the headrest of the second row is bumping into it when you're trying to fold the seat down. You can even fold both seats up or down at the same time. Just press both buttons simultaneously. This, of course, is the tonneau cover, and you can release the tonneau cover on each side, and it just retracts. It's just a tension pull, and then you can take that out. There is not a place to store the tonneau cover in the vehicle, so if you do take it out, you're going to want to store that at home. With the extended cargo capacity of the RXL, there is room to store the tonneau cover underneath in the spare tire and tool area. To learn more details specific to the RXL, check out this video here. When you're closing your tonneau cover, you want to make sure that you come from the bottom of the latch and then slide it into place. Make sure that you're aware of the lights that are in the back of the vehicle. You also have a hook to hang grocery bags on the right and left-hand side of the vehicle. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see an additional power adapter. Very handy if you have a lot of kiddos in the car, or if maybe you're going camping and you want to have one more place to plug something in, or if you're tailgaters, you're gonna be good to go. Some other things to point out are the tethers that are for second row car seats or booster seats. That's for an additional tether depending on the car seat or booster seat that you purchased, and you run that up and over underneath the headrest and then attach it, and you're going to always want to follow the instructions that have come with your specific car seat or booster seat. You'll find a cargo net that is stored neatly in this leather zip case. So if we unzip it, then the case becomes the bottom of the net. So when you attach the cargo netting with this loop up onto the hooks on either side, you'll notice that because you have the case is the base, that'll be my rhyme for the day, you don't risk your smaller items potentially falling out of the bottom. So it's nice and simple. I do want to point out that if you are going to access things in the cargo area underneath the mat, it's important to remove the net and to unhook from the D-rings that are in the corners, because these hooks are plastic and you don't want to snap them or break them off. So you're just going to unhook, move it out of the way. You'll notice the first aid kit that comes in every new Lexus vehicle. Pretty handy. We've removed the top netting, and now we're going to remove that other hook from the D-ring. Doing this one-handed, a little bit tricky, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to move the net out of the way And then I always like to fold over the carpeted cargo area mat. Now, if you have an all-weather cargo mat that does not fold over easily, you're going to want to go ahead and just remove that so that then you can lift the handle and access your spare tire. Now, keep in mind, a lot of high-end vehicles now do not have spare tires because those vehicles use run-flat tires. So if you have a vehicle that has run-flat tires, you are more than likely not going to have a spare tire on board. The RX does not have run-flat tires at this time, so it does come with a spare. You also have a storage area that is a great place to store that cargo net if it's not something that you're using on a regular basis. Some states also require a front license plate to be mounted on the vehicle. Make sure not to discard the bracket. It's typically located in the glove compartment, or on the RX, you might find it nested in with the spare tire. To access the tools, just go ahead and lift this cargo cover, and then you'll be able to see everything that's stored in that second section. If you'd like to remove the hard cover, you can. However, there's a really nifty hook located just inside. Unwind the tether, bring the hook all the way up, and gently place it on the rear railing, making sure to avoid hanging it on the seal. Then you'll be able to see your tire iron, the jack. It should have these banded hooks just to hold it in place. You'll notice that there is some styrofoam that also helps to hold it in place. Those things help to keep your vehicle quiet, so you want to make sure that you don't discard those. If you do access these tools, you want to put everything back the way that you see it here so that it keeps everything quiet while you're riding along. And another really important piece of information is the wheel lock key. So this is a wheel lock key. They are specific to the set of locks that are on the wheels for this vehicle. Let's take a look. When you look at the wheels of most Lexus vehicles, you'll see this wave pattern on one of the lug nuts. That's your wheel lock. And then the key, the wheel lock key, would be nested right in. This end goes on the tire iron. So this is something that's important to know about. If you needed to have a tire changed, you want to make sure that if they use your wheel lock key, that you get your wheel lock key back. If you needed to replace a wheel lock or the key, you might want to just go ahead and get a whole new set, just as a tip. So when you're finished using that wheel lock key, you want to snap it right back into place. So again, they've made a little housing for it that helps to keep everything from moving or rattling around. We want to make sure that your vehicle stays nice and quiet. When you're ready to take it down, make sure to lift up on the hook, and then you can recoil the cording and slide the hook and snap it into place. And then we'll just go ahead and close our cargo area back up. Put your carpeted or all-weather cargo mat back in place just to keep your interior nice and protected. And then you'll replace your cargo net. It's a good idea to connect the bottom hooks first. So just snap those into place, one on each side. And then you can put the netting into place. Nice and easy. And then you have your cargo net. This is actually a mechanism that lets you lock that net, the second piece. So you'll see that they've kind of thought of everything. So it has a small lip that catches on the front netting cord, that main cord that goes across. So when you have this full of lots of groceries, it just helps to keep things more contained. And it's not a big permanent catch or anything like that. You don't have to work too hard to undo it. And if you want it out of the way, just flip it over or flip it inside. So let's take a look inside. In your new vehicle, it's always a good idea to get into a safe, comfortable driving position. So you're going to want to make your seat adjustments here at the side. Depending on which Lexus you're in, you may have a different configuration. You may have more seat adjustments. All of your seat adjustments are going to be on the side of the seat itself. Once you have adjusted your seat, your steering wheel, the adjustment for power steering wheels is on the left-hand side. It's like a little joystick, and it toggles in all directions because this steering wheel will tilt and telescope. So it can go in and out, up and down. If you have a manual adjustment for your steering wheel, it's going to be located underneath, and it's just a manual release. Then you would move the steering wheel itself, sliding it in and out or up or down, and then you would lock it into place. RXs have the power steering wheel with the tilting and telescoping adjustment on the left-hand side. You also are going to adjust your side mirrors. So your side mirrors are going to be adjusted in the door handle itself. To make changes to your mirror settings, you're going to select left or right and use the touchpad. This is the auto feature that we discussed. So as long as you have a green light, you'll make sure that auto is selected. If you want to power open the side mirrors, you can just push this right side button and they will power fold. Hi. Push auto again to allow them to open back up and turn auto on. Now, once you have your mirrors in place, your steering wheel, and your seat position, you're going to want to save it to the driver position memory. We save it by pushing the word set and then choosing the button for driver number 1, 2, or 3. So if we push set, let it go, and number 1, now my position has been saved as driver number 1. Now a tip, some extra tips about the 3 driving positions. If you have challenges getting in and out of the vehicle, even though this vehicle does allow the seat to slide back and the steering wheel to retract to allow you more room to enter and exit the vehicle, if you want to customize the seat position and the steering wheel position for entering and exiting the vehicle, just save it. So you could save that as position number 3. Your mirrors can also tilt in reverse. So as long as you have either left or right selected, it doesn't matter which, when you put the vehicle in reverse, the mirrors will tilt down. That's beneficial if you're backing out of a driveway, you're trying to avoid things like a sprinkler system, but if you don't want them to tilt, make sure that neither left or right is selected. Since we're going over this RX with a fine-tooth comb, I want to make sure that you know that you can lock the windows from passenger operation. This does not mean that you are locked out of the window power, only the passengers. So this is a good thing to do if your vehicle has just had the windows tinted and you don't want anyone else to be able to operate the windows, but you have to remember not to do it yourself. Taking a look at the buttons on the left-hand side of the dash, just below the air conditioning vent. If you have a blank button or your configuration is slightly different, not to worry. Just make sure that you get familiar with the equipment that's on your Lexus. On the top left, we have our automatic high beams. This is not new for 2021. What is new is that all you have to do is have your headlamps in auto and then push the auto high beam button to turn on your automatic high beams. So now everything about your headlights is automatic. Coming to the right, we have the power back door button. If you push the power back door open button and you don't hear a tone, it just means the doors are locked. Push the unlock button and then push and hold the power back door opening button until you hear a beep. You'll have an indicator on the dash that the door is opening. If you have a heads-up display on your Lexus RX, you'll see the button to turn it on and off here. When you push the button to turn it on, you're going to get a message on the dash asking you if you would like to adjust the HUD. This gives you an opportunity to use the up and down arrows on the right side of your steering wheel to make some basic initial adjustments. If we arrow up, you'll see the selection change to yes. Push the dot in the middle to accept, and now we can move left or right with the left or right facing arrows to adjust the brightness, and up or down with the up or down arrows to adjust the position. Taking a look at a really cool detail about heads-up display adjustment. If the heads-up display is off and you push the button to turn it on, arrow up, push the dot, adjust, brightness, position, then push the go back button. And it jumps you directly to the additional heads-up display customizations in the multi-information display. This is awesome. You'll see brightness and position right at the top, arrow down for gauge information, push the dot to open. You can have a blank section, an eco indicator, or a tachometer. I'll show you each one. If we turn on tachometer, you'll see it right in the center section. Eco indicator, that will light up with a bar in the eco range when you're driving in a fuel efficient way, or blank, and it clears that center section. Coming down to driving support, you can turn on or off navigation information, driving assist information like your parking sensors and blind spot monitor, the compass, and audio information, like if you're changing stations or volume. The compass will stay on screen unless you turn it off. These other items, when they're turned on, they only appear as needed. The information will come on and then it will fade out, so that you just have your basic details in your heads-up display for normal driving. So notice at the bottom it says apply. That means if you make your selection, you're going to push the dot to apply your selection and push the U-turn arrow to go back. You can also rotate the heads-up display. You cannot move it side to side. You can only rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. This is helpful if you feel like it doesn't look straight to you, but you can tilt it clockwise or counterclockwise just by pushing the right or left arrows. It's just a subtle adjustment, but if you feel like it looks straight to you, then you're all set. Pushing the go back button, and you're finished with the heads-up display. You can push your shortcut button to jump right back to your main screen, or press the go back button and you'll be back in your settings for your multi-information display. We'll come back to the multi-information display shortly. I want to finish up those side panel dashboard buttons for you next. Coming below to the second row, you have the button to operate your heated steering wheel. And if you have a camera view monitor, the 360-degree monitor, you'll turn it on by pushing the view button. Pushing the view monitor button, you'll have a full 360 preview of what's around your vehicle if you're in park. There are two different view versions. The one we just saw is as though you're looking through the vehicle. If you highlight and click or just touch in the bottom left corner, you'll see the bird's eye view. This is actually the preferred view, but I do like for you to know that there are options and settings that are right on the screen. You could even play it again and pause if you needed to check a particular area around your vehicle. You can also customize the body color of the exterior of the vehicle. Just notice that when you make color changes to the vehicle, you want to still make sure that you can clearly see your surrounding area. Keep in mind, they are also just ghosted images of the vehicle. We don't have a camera actually floating above the car. We have cameras located at the front, rear, and under both side mirrors. If you're in gear, you'll have a different view. In reverse, we see our full backup camera on the left side, and then a 360-degree view on the right. The right side can be zoomed in just by touching that section or clicking with the highlighter and the touchpad. Just click again to zoom back out. When you have the yellow dynamic lines, you'll see your intended path as you're turning. When you line up the yellow lines with the light blue lines, you'll know your wheels are straight. The center blue line shows the center line of the vehicle. The red line indicates that you're getting very close to your bumper. You can change your line view by clicking on the bottom right corner. Now you don't have dynamic yellow turn lines. Now you have your full turn lines. These lines are not dynamic. This would be showing your angle of reverse approach if you were to turn the wheel all the way to the right or all the way to the left. Your final option is to only have the red line. No matter what view you choose, you'll still see your bumper and even part of your license plate at the bottom section of the screen. Most people prefer the dynamic lines and they prefer this view. If you look on the bottom left corner, notice that you can get a wide angle or a fisheye view. We're seeing more of the pillar that's on the left side and the back end of the vehicle that's on the right. It also shows you a little bit more of the bumper. So you really just need to decide what your preference is. So there's not one right view and one wrong view. It just is whatever you like better. Notice now that when we clicked back to this view that doesn't show those wide angles, that we can't see the car on the right side in the large screen. You can only see it in the overview. So just use your cameras to supplement looking over your shoulder and using your mirrors. So cameras do not replace mirrors and looking over your shoulder. This is just one more tool to make your drive even more enjoyable. If we come into drive, now we have our front view. The front view is more of a fisheye view. The center section is blacked out. It's gray. You can actually see through it, but it's really designed so that it draws your eye out and to the sides. This is excellent if you are pulling out of a parking structure or if you have a sidewalk in front of your drive that you're exiting, because it lets you see a lot farther out in front of the vehicle. There are a couple of changes you can make. Just click on your button at the bottom right corner. So if you want those dynamic lines to show moving forwards, they are in our example here. If you want them on the screen, they're going to show on the right side. If you see them on the thumbnail at the bottom, that means it's selectable. It's not turned on. You only have the outer bracket. This center section is not clickable because this is your only option for front view. You also have the option to turn this feature on auto. When you see the little blue light on the left side of the word auto, you know it's turned on. Having this feature in auto means that it is going to come on automatically when you are at low speeds. Let's take a look at what it's like to exit and enter a parking space with the 360 camera view monitor. We're going to go ahead and back up, and you'll see all kinds of a great view. Pulling into the parking place because we are stopped. We already have our monitor on. Just makes it really simple and easy to see the parking lanes, the curb in front of you, you name it. Let me show you what it looks like when you're driving. When we get up to speed, you'll see that the monitor turns off and our map turns on. If you had your radio on or your audio screen on, that would come on. Got a busy, active driveway today. So when you get to a lower speed, it assumes that you're either in traffic, potentially pulling up behind another vehicle, or you're wanting to park. So it's going to come on automatically. A lot of people love this feature when they're parking, but it can take a little getting used to when you're in traffic. So if you're not crazy about it being in auto mode, just turn the auto feature off. And when you want to see the view monitor, push the view monitor button. If you have blanks, it just means that there might be another package available in a different area, and that item is not on your Lexus. No worries. Moving down, push the button on the left, and you'll see a small storage drawer. And then coming way down here, the manual release for the hood. Tucked in to the left behind the steering wheel, we have adjustments for the brightness of your instrument panel. You can change the brightness or dimness. You also have your odometer and trip meter button, and that will cycle you through trip A, trip B. You see the small wrench? It lets you know how many miles you have left before your next oil change. Keep in mind you're going to service every 5,000 miles or 6 months, whichever comes first. But typically oil changes are done every 10,000 miles or once a year because of the full synthetic oil that's on your Lexus RX. Push again and you'll be back at the odometer screen. If you're on trip A or trip B, you can push and hold the button to zero out a trip if you're calculating miles. Just press again until you're back on the screen that you prefer. For headlight operation, if you keep the headlights with the selector to auto, they will come on and off automatically. You can manually select as well. Low beams on all the way at the top. Daytime running lights only. Back to auto, or all off. If you want to take advantage of the auto function for low beams as well as high beams, make sure that you have your low beam selector to auto, and now push your automatic high beam button. The headlamp indicators on the dash are in green on the right hand side. The light bulb symbol means your low beam headlights have turned on, either because they've been turned on manually or they are in auto and they're responding to low light. When you have your automatic high beams turned on and your low beam headlights come on, you'll have an indication that your auto high beams are active. This doesn't mean that they're already engaged. It just means that they're ready, so that if you are in an area that they can turn on, they will. But if the system detects light from an oncoming vehicle or ambient light in a well-lit, your high beams are going to revert back to low beams only. Dial your fog lamp selector, and your fog lamps will also come on when your low beam headlights come on. If you prefer to have manual operation of fog lamps, just turn the dial down so that the selector is on/off. Windshield wiper controls are on the right-hand side. If you have the word auto for automatic, you have rain sensing windshield wipers. You want to make sure that they are set to auto. Up at the top is mist. Let it fall. It's in the off position. Down for auto. Adjust the sensitivity on the dial. Down again for low, but steady. And at the very bottom for high. Now, if your wiper stock does not say auto, if it says intermittent, then that means you have an intermittent wiper control. So when you make an adjustment of the wiper speed, it's not going to be about rain sensitivity. It's about you turning it on. So auto is for rain sensing wipers. Intermittent means you're in charge. So if you push it up to the top, you'll get that one swipe. For mist, bring it down. It will be in the off position. Come down one click. You'll be in automatic. Once you're in automatic, then you can move to this control. This dial will adjust the sensitivity of the auto wipers. If we look back at our position settings, we could go down another click for low and then to the bottom for high. And that's going to be a steady run of the wipers as opposed to rain activated. Now you'll notice that the rear wiper on this vehicle is intermittent. So that's not rain sensing. That means you need to choose to turn it on, intermittent, or off. So normally we have it in the off position. If we go to intermittent, then it's going to come on and off occasionally. If we go to on, it will be a steady wiping. To clean the glass, you'll see the indicator on the end of the windshield wiper stalk. You pull it toward you for the front windshield, and you push away for the rear window. Let's start with the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. Volume up or down for radio and phone. Arrows up or down to move you through your radio presets once you've saved your favorites on your radio. Mode will change you through audio sources, toggling you through AM, FM, satellite, Bluetooth audio, you name it. Push and hold to mute or pause your audio. You're able to pause or mute your audio. Push and hold again to resume. Your voice command button or talk button looks kind of like a profile of a person with little sound waves coming out of their mouth. You're going to push and release. Wait for the beep and then give commands for all different kinds of systems on your Lexus. Lexus has voice command tutorials built right into the vehicle. Press the menu button, come to Setup, slide to the left to open up Voice. You can follow the steps for Train Voice Recognition. If you want to learn from your Lexus, go to the Voice Recognition tutorials. The very first time you launch voice command on your Lexus, you might hear something like this.
Before you start, consider viewing the available tutorials, and training will always be available from the Voice Settings menu.
When it tells you to select Don't Tell Me Again, click to see the light, and then click OK. And now you'll no longer hear that message. Push and release, wait for the beep, and give a command. Push and hold to cancel. The most important thing to remember is that you have two different types of voice command on your Lexus. The first is for the native systems and Bluetooth. You're going to push and release and wait for the beep to give those types of commands. We'll do some examples in just a moment. The other type of voice command is if you are giving commands for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You're always going to push and hold if you're using those features. But either way, make sure to wait for the beep. Another great thing about voice commands is that they can be performed from any screen. Your telephone buttons. To answer a call, push the off hook button. To hang up or ignore a call, push the on hook button. The easiest way to make a call is to press and release the talk button, wait for the beep, and then say call and give the contact name just as they're listed in your contact list in your Bluetooth connected smartphone. The system is also capable of texting via voice through Bluetooth. Just push and release the talk button, wait for the beep, and say send a text to and give the contact name. Keep in mind that texting through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto will be a much more robust, smooth experience. Make sure to check out this video in order to learn more about texting via voice in your Lexus. Let's take a look at the buttons on the right side of the steering wheel. All of the buttons at the top operate your multi-information display. That's the menu located in the center of your gauges. You can move left or right. It's all a big loop of information. Let's go through each screen. At the top, you'll have a menu bar that will fade out after a few seconds of inactivity. Then you'll see the outside temperature on the top left corner and the clock on the top right. Your first screen is information. There's a lot of information in here, mostly about fuel economy. The most popular piece typically is range. The first three screens in the information menu are customizable. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Continuing to arrow down, you have even more information about fuel economy. The eco indicator is kind of like a attaboy or attagirl, great job, you're driving in a fuel-efficient way. Your tire pressure monitor, and a blank screen if that's your preference. Arrowing down again and we loop right back to the top. Arrow to the right for your compass. Arrow to the right again for a music summary screen. If you have radio presets saved, you can now operate those just by clicking the up and down arrows on the right-hand side. If you don't have your music screen open in your multi-information display, you can still operate your radio presets on the steering wheel. You'll just use the arrows on the left-hand side. Arrowing to the right, your driving support systems will appear here. If you push the button to turn on your lane trace assist, you'll get your message that lane trace assist is on and steering assist is active. When you see the lane markers and they're hollow, that means that the system is on, but it's not currently registering a lane in front of the vehicle. The lane markers will light up solid when it recognizes a lane. This image will also show in your heads-up display depending on your settings. Arrowing to the right again for service-related messages. Arrowing to the right for additional settings. To make customizations, just use your arrows to move down or up the list. Once you've highlighted an item that you want, push the dot to open that menu. In Lane Trace Assist, you can turn on and off lane centering, steering assist. Notice that when you turn steering assist off, the lane centering turns off as well. You can change your alert from a vibration to an audible alert. Most people prefer the vibration of the steering wheel. You can also adjust the sensitivity of the feature, standard or high. Arrowing down, you can turn on or off your sway warning and customize your sway sensitivity. The sway warning will engage if you've had multiple corrections in a row from this feature. It thinks that you're a fatigued driver, and it's going to pop up a picture of a coffee cup. Pushing go back. Coming down to pre-collision system, you can turn the feature on or off. You can turn the feature off. We recommend that you don't, however. You are going to get a message, pre-collision system off, and a warning light on the left side of your dash in orange. Instead, arrow down and consider customizing the sensitivity, high, medium, or low. Most people prefer medium, which is the default. Arrowing back, blind spot monitor can be customized off or on. You can also adjust the brightness and the sensitivity. Pushing go back. PKSA, things that beep and make noise. Parking support alert. Parking sensors, those are the sonar that we looked at on the front and rear bumpers. Rear cross traffic alert. If you are backing up and something is crossing at the rear of the vehicle, you're going to have a visual indicator in your side mirrors and an audible alert. You can adjust the volume for these alerts in 3 stages. Pushing go back. PKSB, parking support braking. Parking support braking works in conjunction with your parking sensors and rear cross traffic alert. If you are getting a warning and you don't come to a complete stop, under certain circumstances, the vehicle will stop for you. RSA, Road Sign Assist. You can turn this feature off or on. If you have a heads-up display, certain information will be available to appear in the heads-up display. You can be alerted when you exceed a recognized speed limit. You can have no notification, visual only, visual and audible. Pushing go back, and you can customize your notification level. How soon do you want to be notified? 1 mile an hour, 3 miles an hour, or 5 miles an hour over the recognized speed? Other signs, you can have no notification, visual only, visual and audible. Pushing go back again, and here we are back at the heads-up display customization screen that we saw before. Pushing go back. Your clock can be customized 12-hour or 24-hour. This is just for the digital clock on your multi-information display. Arrowing down to Vehicle Settings. Push the dot to open. Power back door. You can turn this on or off, adjust the volume, and turn the kick sensor on or off. Pushing go back. Tire pressure monitor system, scheduled maintenance, and oil maintenance are 3 items that would typically be adjusted by your technician after service. Pushing go back. Coming down to meter settings. Pushing the dot to open. You can change the language of the display from English, French, or Spanish. Pushing go back. The units of the display can be customized from kilometers or miles. You can turn the pop-up eco indicator on or off. Remember we saw the eco bar before that's going to show you when you're driving in a fuel efficient way. This little eco indicator pops up kind of like a little green leaf on the side of the dash. Just as an additional reminder, if that bothers you, you can turn that off. Your switch setting. This is one way that you can customize the page that's linked to your shortcut button. You can also just push and hold the shortcut button on your favorite page. Let's take a look at how to do that. This will allow us to change what screen is linked to this button. If you were wondering when I was going to get back to these two buttons, now you know. This button on this vehicle specifically, on some but not all vehicles, will allow you to shortcut to one of the screens that are on this multi-information display. So if, for example, you decide that you want to have the music screen be your shortcut favorite screen, you're going to select the music screen, and then you're going to push and hold on this menu option. So push and hold, and it's going to ask you switch setting change to registered screen. You're going to arrow up and click yes. If that's not what you want, if you decide you prefer a different screen, just select it and then push and hold, arrow up to yes, and push the dot to select. Arrowing down to customize your drive information screens. You have 3 customizable screens. These are the first 3 screens on your information menu. Push the dot to select, and then choose which item you would like to eliminate. Push the dot to select that item, and now you'll scroll through all of your options of things that could show on that screen instead. For example, let's set up our first page, our first drive information screen with range. How many miles do we have left? And then let's change our fuel economy information to after refuel. So every time we stop for fuel, it's going to automatically update that information. Pushing go back, and let's take a look at our changes. Press go back again, arrow to the right, and there's our new customized drive information screen. We could do this for the other 2 drive information screens. We could shortcut to the left, go to settings, open meter settings, arrow down, and then you could make changes for drive info 2 and drive info 3. Your pop-up display, you can choose to have intersection guidance, telephone pop-up information, and the adjust brightness that we saw as the pop-up before. You can turn all of those or any of those items on or off. Pressing go back, arrowing down, you can customize the color from blue to gold. And then you can always go back to the factory default settings. Pressing go back, arrowing down so that you'll end up at the top of your settings menu. Arrow to the right to shortcut back to your information screen. The last button on the right-hand side is your following distance for cruise control. To turn on radar cruise control, push and release the power button on the end of the stalk. You'll have a message on the dash that cruise control is active. You'll also see the green icon with the vehicle representing following distance and the arrow representing speed. Follow the arrows. When you get to the speed that you would like to travel, just click down. If you have pulled it to you to cancel or tap on the brake to cancel, you can resume by clicking up. You can also increase or decrease your speed by clicking up or down. If you push the button again on the end, you'll turn the system off. Notice that you can push and hold to turn on traditional cruise control. Push and hold, and you'll see the information change from radar cruise to traditional cruise. So you will no longer see the following distance icon or the picture of a vehicle and the gauge. When radar cruise control is on, just toggle through your following distance options by clicking on the button on the lower right of your steering wheel. You have long range, mid-range, and close range. This also appears in your heads-up display. Long range, mid-range, and close range. This is like a buffer zone between you and the vehicle in front of you. It's going to default to the longest range. Once you get accustomed to the system and how it begins slowing down for you and then accelerating again, just make adjustments as you become comfortable and more acquainted with the system. The most important thing to know about the pre-collision system and the dynamic radar cruise control and its stopping capabilities. Even things like the parking support brake, they are designed to mitigate an accident. There's not a guarantee that they will be able to avoid all accidents, but they are designed to lessen the severity wherever possible. That's why it's important to make sure that you're still an active driver, checking your mirrors and checking over your shoulder before changing lanes, backing up, merging into traffic. All the basics, we've still got to do them. Coming up below the rear view mirror, you have 3 buttons for home link to pair a garage or gate operation. You also have the ability to turn off or on the auto-dimming mirror. Keep in mind that if you do turn the feature off, typically when you turn the vehicle off, the auto-dimming mirror will turn back on when you turn the car back on. Coming up from the rear view mirror, you have your dome lights that operate just by touch. Nice and easy. And then if you have the vehicle in door mode, this will be flush, this button. So you want that flush, and then when you open a door, all of your interior lights will turn on for you. If this is protruding at all, then that means you've canceled the door mode. So you want to just keep that flush. Your controls for opening and closing, tilting up and down the back of the moonroof. So this will power open the shade as well as the glass. And then you would manually close the shade if you are ready to have the shade closed. Another item to be aware of is your SOS button, which is your Safety Connect system. They do have it under a little door, so you just don't hit it by mistake. And if you give that a push, you will be connecting to Lexus Inform Safety Connect. Your sunglasses holder is located right by your dome light. And then coming down to our biggest piece of equipment on the vehicle for technology, your navigation screen. And on an RX, if you do not have onboard navigation, you still have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto built into the system. You would access those by pushing menu and then going to projection. When your device is plugged in, instead of saying projection, it will say the name of your system, whether it's Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. We can link to videos about those systems in the description below. One of the key new features to the screen when the RX was redesigned last year, they introduced a touch screen. So you can just toggle through your map views by clicking on the compass in the top left corner. You can also pinch and pull to zoom in and out on your map. You can also explore on the map just by clicking traffic information. If you see green, yellow, maybe even red, you'll know your traffic status. Green, it's moving. Yellow, it's slow. It's Houston. Come on, there's got to be some red around here somewhere. There we go. Red, ooh, goodness. It's bumper to bumper. You'll even notice reports.
Eastbound I-610 at US 59 exit 8, impassable.
Well, that doesn't sound good. Just click to get the alert.
Westbound I-10 at Gessner Road exit 757, disabled vehicle.
Well, you might want to take another route. Then to recenter, just push the map button located right next to your menu button. This is your go back button, previous screen, and then your touchpad. You can also pinch and pull to zoom in and out on the touchpad. You'll notice when you use the touchpad and you push the main menu button, you have the capability of secondary menu access right at your fingertips. So if you choose to click on the primary menu item, those same items for the secondary menu are going to be located on the left-hand side. Taking a look at our main menu, let's go through each item. Destination, you can either click down to select or move up to the shortcuts. Search, go home, recent, favorites, and contacts from compatible smartphones. If you don't want to access destination from the main menu, you can do it right on the map, just by clicking the search magnifying icon. Search, Destination Assist, which is part of Lexus Inform, and you do have a complimentary trial period for that feature. Favorites, recents, and emergency locations. Your Go Home shortcut is right at the top. My favorite way to tell the vehicle that you'd like to go home is to just tell it and use voice command. Go home.
Setting home as your destination.
You can just start driving or click OK.
Please proceed to the highlighted route, then the route guidance will start.
Once you're on your way, if you no longer need navigation assistance, cancel route.
Route canceled.
Keep in mind when you are registering your location for your Go Home shortcut that it's recommended that you don't use your exact home address, that for safety reasons you program something close by, maybe an intersection or exit at the freeway or the entrance to your neighborhood. That way, if you've valet parked and they know you're not at home, they don't also know how to drive to your home in your vehicle. Other great navigation voice commands are saying things like, get directions to 123 Main Street, Houston, Texas. So you can say the entire address without the zip code in one fell swoop. For a deeper dive into voice commands with your Lexus, make sure to check out this video. Coming back to our main menu, our audio system, if we click on the main menu and we go to audio, you'll see all the different sources that are available: AM, FM, satellite. Of course, if we had a disc in, it would access a disc. If we plug into USB or pair for Bluetooth, you can change the order if you prefer. Let's say you really like satellite and that's your favorite, you can push that to the very first position and then push the go back button, and it's saved automatically. When you want to save a preset, you want to either use the tuner dial to scroll to that preset or use the onboard voice command system to tune to a station. Let me explain how that works. Tune to 99.1.
99.1 FM.
And then if you want to save that as a favorite or a preset, you select the spot where you want it to go, highlight with your touchpad or with your finger, and push and hold. Now it's saved. If you chose to set a different preset to that location, you would just override what you have showing now. Tune to 96.5.
96.5 FM.
We can highlight and pick that spot, again using the touchpad or the touchscreen, push and hold, and now it's saved. Another item people really like to know about are the sound settings. So you would choose sound, again with the touchpad or on the touchscreen. Choose treble, mid-range, and bass, and then you can make your adjustments. You can either click on the plus or the minus, or you can click on the scroll in the middle and then just slide your finger along the trackpad. So I'm not pushing down any longer, I'm just sliding, just softly sliding around. And when I pick the spot where I want to save my setting, then I push. And now it's selected. Going back to our menu, you'll see that we have a telephone icon. You can access that through the main menu, or you can just push the telephone off hook button, which is located on the left-hand side of your steering wheel. The first time that you select the telephone, it's going to let you know that there isn't a Bluetooth device registered, and it's going to ask you if you would like to add one. Let's pair a phone. Menu, Setup, Bluetooth. This will take you back to the same screen that you saw if you were opening the phone menu on the vehicle for the very first time. Click Yes. Now operate your smartphone. Come to Settings, open Bluetooth, and then look for the vehicle's device name to appear under Other Devices. Click right on the device name. Then confirm the PIN that it matches and click Pair. Then you'll want to allow for your favorites, your contacts, your call history. You may even get a pop-up about the updates that have occurred. Click OK to clear the message. When you see the message on the screen about needing to allow message access on your smartphone, that's referring to texting. Come to Settings, where you have the connection for your phone and your vehicle. Push the lowercase I in the circle for information if you're using an iPhone. An Android phone will prompt you for this setup. At the top for Show Notifications, turn that feature on. Now you have allowed text messages to pop up on your screen. Taking a look at apps. A lot of updates have been made to the Lexus app. In fact, now it contains all of the functionality of the Lexus Inform app suite. So you might still see verbiage about Inform app suite, even though you don't have to have this independent app on your smartphone any longer. All you need is the Lexus app. If your vehicle prompts you for an update, go ahead and click to update. You can either download with the screen open or choose Download in Background. If you are downloading in the background, that's going to allow you to use the multimedia system while you're doing the download. If you'd like to see the progress, just click. Your next step will be to install. This lets you know that you're not able to use the apps while you're installing. Just click Continue. The install is very quick. Once it's complete, click OK. Now you'll see notifications, Wi-Fi. This screen is just a reminder that you do have a Wi-Fi trial available for this vehicle. The 2021 Lexus RX uses AT&T for the Wi-Fi services. Once you have a phone paired to the system through Bluetooth, when you highlight apps in the main menu, now you'll see Infotainment and communication items available. Select to open. If we come to Infotainment, you'll see compatible apps on the screen. Lexus plus Alexa is a feature that is available if you have an Alexa account. You don't have to have a paid Prime account, but you do have to have the Lexus plus Alexa app on your phone, the Lexus app on your phone, and you need to be logged in to both. You also need to sync your Lexus account with your Lexus plus Alexa account. Just follow the prompts when you sign in. Coming back to our main menu, move along to Projection. That's again for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. See the link below for those tutorials. When you open your menu, if you don't see Apple CarPlay and you see the word Projection, it just means you need to plug in your iPhone through the correct USB port and then launch Apple CarPlay. Coming back to our main menu, information is kind of the unsung hero of the menu items. There is so much great information in the Information tab. So we do have fuel economy information. We also have a traffic incident report. So you can click on a traffic incident report and see if there is any information to be reported near your location. You can also select weather, and the weather app is really cool. It is powered by the Weather Channel. It updates generally every 5 to 15 minutes, and it will let you know in the bottom right-hand corner how long ago it's been. You can select the current forecast. You can go to a 3-day forecast and then move ahead by clicking and get more details about that particular day. You can see a breakdown within 6 hours, 12 hours of your current day. You can also have previously checked locations saved automatically. If you want to explore other areas, you have national and local searches, and then you have a Doppler map. Now, this is not a map that looks like it does on the news, for example. It is just going to show weather activity. It's not going to advance forward tracking a storm. But either way, it is really amazing. And when there are storms in your area, it's incredible to get notifications about potential flash flooding, thunderstorms, snow, depending on where you live. And it's just generally a really helpful screen that a lot of people have a tendency to forget that they even have. So remember, menu, info, and weather. Very cool. Your vehicle alert history, that's going to be notifications about service, and it's going to tell you if there is an alert that you need to know about on your vehicle. This vehicle is very new, so there's no alert history or service history at the moment. And then we have our e-owner's manual, our electronic owner's manual. If you have this message that says it's unable to access, it just means that it needs to be installed. There is a disk that you can use to install your e-owner's manual. Typically at the dealership, this will have been loaded for you in advance, and then you'll be able to access it. We're going to skip over setup for just a moment to address our climate control. And again, we've got some options that we can link to really quickly without clicking into the main climate screen. But if you'd like to, just click on climate. So I do want you to see that there are some features on the screen that are not accessible from the hard buttons that are in your center console. Most people just use the hard buttons in the center console. Adjust your temperature up and down, adjust the passenger temperature up or down. If the passenger changes their temperature, dual turns on because now we have two separate temperatures. If you'd like to sync and go back to a single temperature, turn dual off. Less fan, more fan, fan off. Automatic fan. Automatic fan means the car is now in charge of the fan speed. So if you change your temperature, it will increase or decrease your fan speed depending on the temperature inside the vehicle, the temperature you have selected, and the outside temperature. Auto is one of the only features that you cannot turn off by pushing the button again. You turn it off by taking over the fan. So you take over, and then you decide where you want the fan setting to be. Nice and simple. Front defrost, rear and side mirror defrost. This is great if you end up with condensation on your side mirrors. We also have your airflow mode. This changes if you have your air flowing to just your face, which it is right now, face and feet, feet and defrost. There we go. And it just cycles through. And I'm just clicking through that button. I can also click on the arrows on the screen. Now, while you're up here and you're noticing that there are some buttons up here that are not on the hard buttons we were just looking at. The main one is this double chevron button. This, see the little double chevrons? This is a secondary menu button. It's located right here by your touchpad. When you push that, it opens up some additional items that aren't typically accessed very frequently. There are only a couple in this menu that are not hard buttons. So our auto for the fan is a hard button available. The off for the fan is a hard button available. But this turns on and off your AC compressor. Depending on where you live, you may or may not ever want to turn that off. Our dual on this vehicle has a hard button available. Then Eco Heat and Cool. This is something that you can turn on, leave it on, forget that you ever put it on, and it's no big deal. But it depends on where you live, because if you live in Houston when it can get over 100 degrees in the summer, you might not want Eco Heat and Cool. What Eco Heat and Cool does is cycle off of the air conditioning compressor more frequently to help maximize your fuel economy. You're still, of course, going to be very comfortable. You're going to have the temperature that you've selected, but it's just going to cycle off a little faster whenever it can to try to save on fuel. So if we move out of that menu and you see on the left-hand side where it says options, we click options, it's almost the exact same setting. The only one that you have that's different is called S-Flow. This one is something that is also about fuel economy. S-Flow, when you select the S-Flow setting, you are canceling air to the second row or third row, second and third row, depending on what vehicle or what equipment level you have on your vehicle. Take a look at the image at the top of the screen. That means air is flowing to all seating areas. If I click and cycle again, now I have air only flowing to the front 2 seats. Air flowing to all seating areas. All right, I promised we would come back to setup. And here we are. There's a lot going on in here, so I'll move through quickly. And if you want a deeper dive, make sure to let us know. The primary thing that people come to set up for is to change their clock for daylight saving time. And on this vehicle, you don't have to because you have auto adjust for daylight saving. But you do need to know that you can turn that on and off. You also can turn on or off auto adjust for your time zone. You can choose the language. You can change the display. Another big tip is to go to projection settings for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You want to make sure that the feature you're using is turned on. Bluetooth settings. This is where you would be pairing a phone or customizing the Bluetooth settings for your paired device. Audio lets you go in and choose additional details for the settings for your sound system. When you have a phone paired, you'll be able to access all of the different phone settings, including sound settings, messaging settings for text messages, you name it. Voice settings will allow you to change the volume for the system voice. So this is going to be different from any volume coming from your telephone if you're paired to Bluetooth or tethered for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. This is just the volume of the voice command system if you are using onboard voice command, or navigation if you are using onboard navigation. All of your settings are typically turned on. If you're having trouble with the onboard voice command system, you can do the train voice recognition, and it'll just walk you through the prompts of how to train the system to your voice. Vehicle settings, you can track maintenance, and this is where if you chose to put in more detailed information as the owner of the vehicle, you can do that. The car is going to track basic maintenance for you. It's going to notify you. It's going to give you a pop-up when you have your Service Connect activation. So when you get your vehicle, you have a free trial of 10 years for Service Connect. So it's going to even email you or text you. You have a vehicle health report. It's a great system that notifies you when you need to have service. Vehicle customization lets you customize things like the door lock settings. Which doors do you want to unlock with the smart access system? Just the driver's door or all the doors? Do you want to adjust climate control settings, light settings? You can change the sensitivity for your automatic headlights. You can change the timer for how long your lights stay on after you lock the vehicle when you've exited the vehicle at the end of the day. Other vehicle settings. This is where you would adjust your driver's seat easy exit. So how far back do you want the seat to slide? Now you're not able to choose an exact measurement. It's either full, partial, or off. But I am not very tall, so sometimes for me, I do better with partial because then I can easily reach the foot pedal when I hop back in my car. If you're tall, you're going to want it on full. You also have additional power back door adjustments. I prefer to adjust the back door like I showed you earlier where you're standing at the back door. But if you get in here and you want to work with adjusting the back door from the computer, you have that option. If we scroll down on the left-hand side, you'll see there are even more settings for navigation, for the Wi-Fi that's available as a hotspot in your vehicle. Wi-Fi will come on this vehicle through AT&T, and you have a 4 gig or 3-month trial. Once you've surpassed either 3 months or 4 gigs, you do have to have an account through AT&T for a data plan for the hotspot in the vehicle. Coming down to Inform App Suite settings, keep in mind that now your Inform App Suite is located conveniently inside your Lexus app. This just lets you know that you can customize the data usage message to display once per drive or not at all. You can have it auto-detect the app on an iPhone. That's what we saw during the setup process. To connect in enhanced mode with a USB connected device. Traffic information is going to show up right on your map. And then data services. This is to allow the system to access your HD radio and the DCM on the vehicle for information and updates, or just the HD radio. And the HD radio and the DCM are going to give you a stronger signal and better response. The icons on the right side of the screen are if you want a split screen. So the top screen can adjust to a smaller map or a compass. Keep in mind that any of the maps can be oriented differently just by clicking on the compass in the top left corner. So you have your north up or north at the top mode, the direction you're facing, and 3D. And just click through to change the view. If we want to go back to full screen, just push that arrow on the bottom right. If you want to change the view of your large map, just click again on the compass on the top left corner. Your music icon would pull up a split screen for music. Fuel economy or trip information is next. Climate control, split screen, and then back to full. Now, if you're somebody who prefers to have the radio on rather than the map, you'll see that full screen is available for the radio. But if you have opened up split screen, just again, click the arrow on the right-hand side. Anything that's on the left will go to full. Moving down our center stack, we've got our air conditioning vents, easy to adjust here. Analog clock right in the middle, hazard lights right underneath. CD player, it is a single disc CD player. This will eject your disc. This will pause and play. Additional audio controls, power and volume, tuner dial. Climate control. Moving down, and you'll see 2 USB chargers. Keep in mind these front USB ports are for charging only. They are not for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You also have a 12-volt accessory charger and a plug for that and a cover for that. So the cover is not tethered in any way. Just make sure to keep track of it if you pull it out. New for 2021 in the RX is an optional wireless charger. Make sure that you have wireless charging capability and that your phone fits in the area in order to have a conductive wireless charge. And then we have our smartphone holder. And we have a video about how to clean this and your screen. We can link to that as well. In front of your gear shift, you have heated and ventilated seat controls. These are for the driver. These are for the passenger. The very first push turns on automatic. So if you want to be in charge, let's say it's hot outside, you have the air conditioner down on low, but your back hurts, so you want the heat. Just push the button again and take over. There are 3 different levels for heat and 3 different levels for the fan. And you'll notice when you push that fan button, you're going to hear it because it's going to blow through the seat bottom and the seat back. It's nice and cool and nice and warm. On the left-hand side, you have your automatic parking brake. You also have a feature called brake hold. We can link to that video in the description as well. This holds your foot brake, whereas this holds your parking brake. A neat detail on the RX is that the front cup holder pushes down to hold larger and deeper bottles or tumblers to get it back to the more shallow depth. Just push the button that says push. Our drive mode selector, you just turn to the left for eco, to the right for sport, and push down for normal. All this does is change the throttle response. Eco is more fuel efficient, sport is more zippy, and normal is a happy medium. To the left for eco, you'll see that indication on the multi-information display as well as the large screen. To the right, lights up in red for sport, and pushing down for normal, we no longer have an indication for a drive mode because we're in the normal drive mode. This is to turn on or off your traction control or stability control. The only time we would want that off would be if we were in a situation where we needed to allow the wheels to spin. So if you were off-roading or something like that, which in this vehicle you probably wouldn't do, but it is there just in case you live in a cold weather climate and you need that because of snow or slush. We have additional USB ports, an auxiliary charger, which is just a headphone jack, and then an additional 12-volt charger in the center console under the armrest. Let's take a look at the additional operation of the second row seats. If you have captain's chairs in the second row of your RX, it's going to be a little bit different. So we do have a handle or a lever on the side. Just lift and then it will fold down. If you notice the lever at the back of the center section, that actually will release this center section from the seat on the right-hand side. So you can either fold this down and create some space or a pass-through if you have longer items, and then you can put the other seat up. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Now we have both outboard seats up and the center section folded down. Easy access to that rear cargo area. You'll notice button operation on the outsides of both second row seats. Pushing forward folds the seat forward. Pushing back folds the seat back. This will also recline the second row. To bring the seat back forward, just push the forward arrow until you have it where you want it. If you come too far, you'll hear those beeps. Then you know you just need to go back. When you put this intersection back up, you can pull on the strap to release the armrest and cup holders. Whether you have captain's chairs or a bench seat, the right and left side second row seats have latch, the lower anchor point for car seats. The bench seat offers 3 top tethers on the backs of each second row seat. If your second row seats are heated, the buttons will be located just below the air conditioning vents on the center console. At the bottom of the center console, you'll see 2 additional USB ports for rear cabin passengers. If your RX has a third row, these 2 USB ports are relocated to the second row armrest. So there's 6 total USB ports, 2 for the second row, 2 in the center console, and 2 at the very front of the vehicle. Well, hopefully that answered all your questions about the 2021 Lexus RX. Thanks so much for visiting us today at the Lexus Virtual Classroom, and we'll see you next time.